Learning English is like starting a new journey. It may seem hard, but step by step, you can do it. English is the language that connects people around the world. It helps you talk to new people, get better jobs, and learn new things. This story will help you learn how to improve your English in just 7 days. You will learn how to listen, speak, and practice in a way that feels easy and natural. Listening to English stories will be one of the most important parts. Stories take you into a world where you feel like you are living the words. Listening helps you hear how people really talk. It shows you the rhythm, the tone, and the feeling of the language. When you listen, your brain starts to remember the words, and soon you will find yourself speaking them too. Imagine a boy named Ravi. Ravi was 20 years old and lived in a small town. He always wanted to learn English, but he was scared. He thought, "I can't do it. It's too hard for me." His family was poor, and he worked all day to support them. One day Ravi met an old man at the market. The man asked Ravi, "Why do you look so sad?" Ravi told him about his dream of learning English and his fear of failing. The man smiled and said, "I will teach you something that will change your life." The man told Ravi to listen to English every day. He said, "Start with stories. Listen to them when you work, when you eat, and even when you rest. Let the words enter your heart." Ravi felt hope for the first time. Ravi went home and found a simple English story online. He played it and listened. At first, he didn't understand much. The words seemed fast, and he felt lost. But he didn't stop. He kept listening, and soon he could catch small words like I, you, and happy. The next day, Ravi listened again. This time, he repeated the words he heard. "I am happy," he said out loud. It felt strange, but also exciting. He was speaking English for the first time. On the third day, Ravi wrote down the words he heard. He wrote simple sentences like, "I am strong, I will learn, and I can do it." Every time he wrote, he felt more confident. Ravi's mother saw him working so hard. She didn't know English, but she smiled and said, "I am proud of you." Her words made Ravi's eyes fill with tears. He hugged her and promised, "I will make you proud." By the fourth day, Ravi started talking to himself in English. When he walked to work, he described everything he saw. "The sky is blue. The birds are flying. I feel happy." He didn't care if people looked at him. He was practicing, and that was all that mattered. On the fifth day, Ravi tried to speak with a customer who knew English. He said, "Hello, how are you?" The customer smiled and said, "I am fine. How are you?" Ravi felt nervous, but replied, "I am good. Thank you." It was a short conversation, but it felt like a big win. By the sixth day, Ravi's confidence had grown. He started telling simple stories to his little sister in English. She clapped her hands and said, "You speak so well." Ravi laughed and said, "Not yet, but I will." On the seventh day, Ravi realized something amazing. He was not scared anymore. English was becoming his friend. He could listen, speak, and even dream in simple English. Ravi's story teaches us that learning English is not about being perfect. It's about trying, failing, and trying again. Every small step brings you closer to your goal. Ravi continued his journey with English. Even though he had made progress in 7 days, he knew this was just the beginning. Learning English had become a part of his life. Each day, he woke up excited to learn something new. He kept listening to stories, repeating the words, and practicing out loud. One evening, Ravi sat under a tree near his house. He looked at the small notebook where he had written all the sentences he learned. As he flipped through the pages, he saw how far he had come. The first sentences were simple and full of mistakes, but now his sentences were longer and clearer. He smiled and whispered to himself, "I am learning." Ravi's best friend, Aaron, noticed the change. Aaron didn't believe it at first. "You're speaking English now?" he asked with a laugh. Ravi nodded and said, "Yes, I can. Do you want me to teach you?" Arun looked surprised. "Really? You will teach me?" Ravi replied, "Of course. If I can learn, so can you." The two friends started practicing together. They walked through the fields, pointing at things and naming them in English. "Tree," Ravi said. Aaron repeated, "Tree." They laughed at their mistakes, but kept going. Soon, it became their favorite. Game. They challenged each other to make sentences. One day, Ravi's teacher from school visited his house. The teacher asked Ravi's mother, "How is Ravi doing these days?" His mother proudly said, "He is learning English. You should hear him speak." The teacher didn't believe it. Ravi shyly came forward and said, "Good evening, sir. How are you?" The teacher was shocked. "Ravi, this is amazing. I am so proud of you." Hearing those words from his teacher made Ravi emotional. He thought about all the times he had felt hopeless. He remembered the nights he stayed up late, listening to stories while his family slept. All the hard work, the fear and the struggle felt worth it now. Ravi's younger sister, Meera, was his biggest fan. She followed him everywhere, trying to copy his English words. "Brother, teach me too," she said one morning. Ravi laughed and said, "Okay, repeat after me. I am strong." Meera said, "I am strong." Ravi smiled and added, "And we will learn together." Meera hugged him tightly and said, "You are the best brother." Ravi also started helping the children in his neighborhood. He gathered them under the same tree where he used to sit alone. He told them simple stories in English, pausing to explain the words. The children loved listening to him. For the first time, they felt that learning English could be fun. Ravi's father, who rarely showed his emotions, watched from a distance. One evening, he called Ravi and said, "Son, I don't understand English, but I see how much you've grown. I'm proud of you." Ravi's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Papa. I'm doing this for all of us." As days turned into weeks, Ravi started dreaming bigger. He wanted to get a better job to support his family. One day, he saw a job ad in the newspaper. The position required English-speaking skills. Ravi hesitated for a moment, but decided to apply. "I have worked hard for this," he thought. On the day of the interview, Ravi was nervous. He had never spoken to strangers in English before. But he reminded himself of the stories he had listened to and the words he had practiced. When the interviewer asked, "Tell me about yourself," Ravi took a deep breath and said, "My name is Ravi. I come from a small town. I love learning new things, and I believe in hard work." The interviewer smiled and asked more questions. Ravi answered them with confidence. When the interview ended, the interviewer said, "You have a strong spirit, Ravi. We need people like you." Ravi walked out of the office, feeling like a winner, no matter the result. That night, Ravi's family sat together, waiting for the call. When the phone rang, Ravi picked it up with shaking hands. The voice on the other side said, "Congratulations, Ravi. You got the job." Ravi's family cheered, and his mother cried tears of joy. Ravi hugged her and said, "This is just the start. We will have a better life now." The next morning, Ravi woke up early. He looked out of the window and saw the rising sun. It felt like a new beginning. He sat with his notebook and wrote, "Hard work always wins." These words became his inspiration every single day. When Ravi went to work, he faced new challenges. His job required him to talk to people in English. Some days were hard. He made mistakes, and there were times when people laughed at him. But instead of giving up, Ravi used every mistake as a chance to learn. He reminded himself, "I didn't come this far to stop now." One day, Ravi's manager called him for a meeting. The manager said, "Ravi, your English is improving, but you need to work on your pronunciation." Ravi felt nervous, but nodded. That evening, he went home and searched online for ways to improve pronunciation. He found videos where people taught how to say words clearly. He practiced in front of a mirror, repeating words again and again. His little sister, Mira, stood behind him, giggling as he said words like world and thought. But instead of feeling embarrassed, Ravi laughed with her. He said, "One day, we'll both speak so well that no one will laugh at us." Mira smiled and said, "I believe you, brother." Ravi also started watching English movies with subtitles. At first, he couldn't keep up with the fast dialogues, but he paused, replayed, and repeated the sentences he heard. Slowly he began to understand. He even started imitating the actors. When he said a line perfectly, he felt like a superstar. One night, after watching a motivational movie, Ravi sat quietly in the dark. He thought about his life, his struggles, his dreams, and his family. Tears rolled down his face as he remembered the times he felt worthless, the nights he cried because he thought he wasn't good enough. But now, he was proving himself wrong. He was creating a new story, not just for himself, but for everyone who believed in him. Ravi's confidence grew. Day by day, he started helping his co-workers who struggled with English, one of them, Priya. I said, "Ravi, how do you stay so determined?" Ravi smiled and replied, "Because I know where I started. If I can come this far, anyone can." His words touched her heart, and she decided to follow his advice. One day, Ravi was asked to give a short speech in front of the entire office. The thought of speaking in front of so many people scared him. But he knew this was his moment to prove to himself how far he had come. The night before, he practiced his speech again and again, standing in front of the mirror. He told himself, "You can do this." When Ravi stood on the stage, his hands were shaking and his heart was racing. He took a deep breath and started speaking. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Ravi. 2 months ago, I couldn't even say a sentence in English, but today I am here because I didn't give up." His voice trembled, but his words were powerful. He continued, "Learning English has changed my life. It gave me confidence, hope, and a chance to dream bigger. If I can learn, so can you. All it takes is hard work and belief in yourself." When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then everyone clapped. Some even stood up to applaud him. Ravi couldn't believe it. He had done it. After the speech, his manager came up to him and said, "Ravi, you are an inspiration. Keep going." Those words stayed with Ravi. They made him realize that his journey was not just about learning English. It was about showing others that anything is possible with determination. Back at home, Ravi's mother hugged him tightly. She said, "You make me so proud, my son. I always knew you were special." Ravi's father, who rarely spoke much, patted his shoulder and said, "You've made us all proud. Never stop dreaming." As the days passed, Ravi started teaching free English classes in his village. People from all ages came to learn. He told them, "If you start today and work hard, your life will change. Don't be afraid of mistakes. They are your best teachers." One day, a little boy in his class raised his hand and asked, "Ravi, sir, will I be able to speak English like you?" Ravi knelt down and looked into the boy's eyes. "Yes, you can. Remember, every great speaker was once a beginner. If you believe in yourself, nothing is impossible."